Mindbender, guys. Night Rider. I've always enjoyed giving tips and try to be helpful for those who enjoy playing in the dirt. And after all, to me, your dirt is the most important thing. As you knew, a couple of weeks ago, I started this compost pile here, and I started breaking down stuff in my compost pile. Let's take a look inside the compost here. I hadn't really turned it here recently. It's been about a week or two, but I'm going to probably turn it here today or so, but just give you understand what's going on here in that compost pile. Remember, your dirt is your engine, so to speak. I don't care what kind of gardener you are, expert gardener, biologist, or just the average person like me who enjoys playing with the flowers, who enjoys growing fruit, who enjoys harvesting. You know, just to have a little small garden in your backyard with containers or a raised garden. Your soil will just be the most important thing, because it doesn't matter what kind of seed or what kind of fruit you're trying to produce. If your soil is not a living soil, it's just not going to prosper. You know, you're not going to have a good outcome. So let's take a look at some of the vegetables and stuff. I have had quite a few harvests here lately. I've been able to get some bell pepper, quite a few of these banana peppers here. You know, they're doing real well. They're producing. There's some I need to harvest. The bell peppers are coming on. I have harvested 2 of those from a particular plant. You know, they're starting to, you know, really come out nicely. I will have to maybe monitor these bell peppers because they will get sun scorched. So I may have to pick them up and move them to a different area of my house where it doesn't get as much sun throughout the whole day. So I'm kind of monitoring that, making sure I'm not getting any sun scorching. And if so, I'll move them, which I know I probably will. Check these out, guys. The black-eyed peas. They're starting to come in. Cow peas, some people may call them. You can actually harvest them when they're small like this, or you can let them mature out. I didn't realize that I had a growing vine, so what I've done is I've put a cage on it, and my cow peas are growing. So I imagine these are vine related. I don't know. This is the first time I've attempted to grow these, and they're starting to fill out. You can start to see the ridges of the bean inside the shell there. Got some more of the bell pepper. Then we got our tomato. They're starting to reach above the cages. And what I'll do is I'll probably turn these buckets to where the side it is leaning on can grow down the rest of the, grow down on top of the cage. Instead of it being a 5 or 6 foot plant, it can become a 10-foot plant just by letting it grow across the top here. Here's a good example. This one's starting to lean pretty good. You know, so I'll probably position these out to where, you know, naturally they'll grow and it'll fall down a little bit lower, and I can, you know, put it on my top of the cages here. Also, I want to talk about something that's real helpful as far as insect control. You can make your own little insect control, help with the aphids and stuff. You know, look at the back of your tomatoes. You know, make sure you don't have any infestations. If you do, you can jump on it pretty quickly. And all I have in this container here is water, dishwashing liquid, and I have an oil. Now that oil is a cooking oil, so to speak, like a canola or a vegetable or avocado, any kind of oil, not like a motor oil or anything, but a cooking oil. And I don't know how to explain to you the mixture. Just don't use a lot of detergent, put it that way. More oil, less detergent, and water, and, you know, give it a nice shake up. And if you see a flower or so that may have some infestation, you just spray it real good. And what will happen, like if white flies or any kind of things, aphids, it will basically not allow them to move, which would, you know, stop their production and everything like that, and that'll help you cure it out. Also, on this tomato plant here, Can you get a good view of that? On the bottom of it, on the very bottom of this tomato plant, you see how this blossom has dried up? I always like to make sure I knock those off. To me, if you don't, it may cause like an imperfection in your tomato, and that's occurred a few times on my tomatoes to where I hadn't knocked that off, and it seems like it just forms a ugly looking bottom. So keep that in mind also once you get your tomatoes to blossom out. And don't forget, when you got flowers that are opened up on your tomato plants, give them a nice little dance. Let them make a little love. So they'll pollinate. Let them pollinate. For sure. But we've got some nice tomatoes that are, you know, starting to become sizable. Here's some of the bigger ones over here. Maybe these will be ready by 4th of July. But these are in the containers for those who like the container garden. Let's take a look at the raised bed. I left my scissors over here. I will go get them real quick. Once again, we got our spray here. Let's take a look at underneath the squash. You may not be able to see the white flies, but they have been very, very minimum for me this year. I try to catch them early, and they hadn't been a problem. I am starting to see one thing here. We're starting to get a little bit of the mold here from the on the squash here, which is normal. What I like to do is cut them out. So just take you something to remove it and reach down into the base of it and give it a snip. Get that leaf mold out of there. Get it out of here. We do have some squash here. It seems like it may have flowered that has took, so that's good. I will be pruning these out. As y'all see, I'm still growing vertically. You'll see the stalk on that one's all the way on the bottom, and this is the actual top right up here. Then I'll probably need to pull this over to the stick there and tie that one up, but they're still producing quite a bit of squash here. Also, another neat thing you can do, as you see my okra, my crimson okra is starting to come in. I'm starting to see some pods on it. They're starting to form. They have beautiful flowers. They're actually part of the hibiscus family. A lot of people may not realize that about the okra. We'll take a little look and see what kind of infestation we have. Some looks like here. Some, no, is that just holes? It could be some aphids. We'll give them a little squirt and a little pinch there. It does depend on how often you're, seeing infestation on your vegetables, maybe to how often you need to actually look and keep your eyes on it, because it can literally change in one day. But we'll cut out a lot of these flowers. Another thing, a lot of people see their vegetable plants that wilt during the height of the day. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, and it's not super hot, but a lot of times these things will wilt down. Your tomatoes will, your cantaloupes, your your squash, zucchinis, all those plants will wilt down, and a lot of people think it's a lack of water, but it's not. It's just its natural instinct through the part of the day to protect the plant. So you'll notice a lot of times that those things will wilt down during the hot part of the day, and then as it gets cooler in the day, they'll open back up and look full again. So don't be tricked into overwatering. Overwatering is probably the number one thing that does a lot of damage to people's gardens, especially folks like myself that enjoy hanging out in your garden. You always want something to do. If it's not to harvest something, it might be to trim something up, it might be to check your insect, it might just be to talk to them. So keep that in mind. These are also some cow peas, black eyed peas, whatever you want to call them, that I did grow on the ground. they're starting to show good signs of life. Over here, y'all remember that tomato plant that I trimmed? I put it in the ground there and boom, it's took. So it's sitting around a bunch of spring onions. I just had a little spot there. And even over here, see how these squash plants are kind of taking over that black-eyed pea and shading it too much. So we got some little squashies coming up on these. These are the ones I started from seed. So they're starting to give their things a little beauty. I may grow them vertical. I hadn't decided yet. It depends if I can get these to go ahead and take off and these okra to take off. Of course, they'll be a lot taller. I can just kind of let these go across the bottom of them. That was my plan. But we'll see. I'm going to have to do some trimming. That one is getting too much shade. You can tell the difference in color. See how that's a darker green? And then this one here is real light green. So we'll just come across here and do some trimming. And you're not going to hurt your squash by doing this, because after all, most of the time it does grow on the top side of the squash plant. So open that up a little bit. See if we can't get that in a little bit more sun. We'll go ahead and take this big one off too. There we go. He's opened. He gets full sunlight again. Marigolds, they're starting to produce. Cucumbers. We got these Ashley cucumbers. Oh, cool. I see a bee working the cucumber. So that's nice. They're starting to trellis up. I did give them a little help. And they're starting to trellis up rather nicely. These marigolds from seed, I might need to cut a few of these out of the way to give it some more sunlight. So we'll just come down here and snip a few of these. Let those open up some more light for these marigolds. Marigolds are needing their light too. Okie dokie. Over here behind me in this other raised bed, oh, this is another one I started actually from a cutting. It was a cutting like that one, and this tomato starting to bloom. So hey, free tomato plant. It's a free tomato plant. Starting to produce. I think I saw a squash back here. Yep. Looks like a squash. It's time to harvest you. We'll reach up in there and give it an old cut. And that'll be ready for the kitty. Put that in a mixture of something. Got the watermelon vine. It's starting to prosper pretty good. It's taking off. Over here, guess what, guys? Y'all remember those spaghetti squash? That bad spaghetti squash I had purchased? And I tried to put the seeds in a container with a moist cloth to see if they would germinate. I put 10 seeds in there. I think I left it in a dark container for about 10 days. Nothing happened. So I was like, okay. I just took the whole napkin and I buried it. I figured if nothing else, it would turn to soil, you know, so to speak, help germinate. But look, they started popping up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 out of 10 seeds to germinate. So that's a pretty decent ratio. I'm glad I kept the seed and didn't throw them out whenever I realized they wasn't going to germinate the way I thought they were supposed to germinate. But hey, they've germinated in the soil, and I will be thinning those out. That's way too crowded. So we'll give it a little bit more time, and then we'll decide which ones I'm going to grow. But this watermelon, you know, it's binding up pretty good. It's got 2 of those there. We got some zucchini to harvest. It looks like there's a zucchini. These are the ones the neighbor gave me. So I'll go ahead and harvest this one today also. Okay. It's kind of a little odd looking zucchini. But there's one that's turning yellow. I don't know if that one's going to make it. It doesn't look like it. Might have a second one over there that's ready to harvest. within a day or so. But keep in mind the understanding of your soil. I wish I could let you do it. I would love for you guys to be able to dig down in my dirt and, you know, just kind of feel the coolness. The difference in the temperature is just amazing. You know, it's truly amazing, the difference in temperature. So, hope you guys have a good week. This is the Night Rider. Hey, play in the dirt, guys. Continue playing in the dirt and having fun. We'll see you next time.